What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we are going to be doing the full review of the all-new Springfield Prodigy. The Springfield Prodigy is one of the hottest and most popular guns of 2022, and for good reason. That is one of the reasons why we managed to shoot 1,000 rounds through it in the last month. This is arguably the gun I was most excited about from 2022, and maybe one of my favorite reviewing experiences as well. The Springfield Prodigy promises a lot. It promises to bring a 2011 to the market, or a double stack 1911, I should say, to the market for a reasonable price that works well for duty use, concealed carry, and even home defense. That's quite a sell, so let's find out if they actually pull it off. Before we do get in the video, though, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys that get to afford ammunition and cool guns and all that fun stuff to get on the channel, so I really appreciate you helping support the non-biased content. If you like the content, please just go down to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It can really use your help, so please go down there and help those kids. And then finally, I do want to thank Manning & Sons. Manning & Sons is a huge supporter of the channel. They not only sent this gun in for review, but they also sent the ammunition to shoot through the gun for review, so we really appreciate Manning & Sons. Now, let's get on with the review. This right here is the Springfield Prodigy. I actually have the 4.25 inch, however, they also make a 5 inch, but I would avoid that, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. The 4.25 inch is actually a commander size, so it's about the same size as a commander size 1911, which has been around for quite a long time, so that's nothing new. But what is new is the new grip module that Springfield is putting on them to allow them to take the 17 round magazine. That's very awesome. You get one 17 round magazine and one 20 round magazine, and they are made by Durmag, and I think they're pretty high quality. You're gonna see a theme here with magazines here in a little bit, but the 4.25 I think is a really good choice for a number of reasons. Over the 5 inch, number one, because the gun is a little oversprung, which we'll get to in a minute, and number two, I think the 425 has the correct slide mass for the 9mm cartridge, which they are both used in. So if you're going to get a 9mm 2011 or 1911 double stack 1911, I would recommend going with the commander frame, at least for the Prodigy, especially because the stock recoil spring is very heavy. Getting past that, this is a 4.25 inch barrel with good ballistics for not only concealed carry, comfortable for concealed carry, but 4.25 is certainly good enough to get good ballistics out of the 9mm round, good penetration, good expansion of those hollow points, so I like that a lot. It also comes with a light rail, which we have the new Surefire Turbo on there, and it does come with an optics mounting system as well, although it doesn't come with any plates, and from what I'm aware of, nobody that has ordered a plate yet has had one, so it's currently not optics ready, but it could be at some point. We have some pretty awesome sights on the gun as well. I'm a huge fan. I have no problem with these iron sights, so I don't even mind we don't have a plate. It's got the U-notch in it, suspiciously like Wilson Combat. They look exactly like Wilson Combat sights, and it has the green front fiber optic, which is really awesome. At some point I may change it out for a red because I like that a hair better, but the green was a nice change for a little while. Going down to the grip here, we have a pretty awesome grip module, pretty standard for the 2011 market, but awesome nonetheless. Good texture, and it goes all the way up, so you can get that good purchase on the gun. We have a pretty good undercut with a memory pad on the beaver tail, but it is very, very loose. The beaver tail grip safety, not nearly as high quality as something like a Staccato. And then we have a very tactile and audible safety. Great job on the safety from Springfield. Springfield has a lot of time on the 1911 platform, so the controls being where they're at and being very good doesn't surprise me. We've got a sunken in, a slide stop, slide release there, which is very functional. Sometimes on magazines on 2011s, you sacrifice the lockback for a couple extra rounds, but most tactical guns like the Prodigy or the Staccato will come with lockback ready to go. Serrated and extended magazine release works well. 3-hold trigger with a serrated curved face. I like that a lot. Very standard for the 1911 market. And going down to the magwell, we do have a pretty decently beveled magwell, which helps with those reloads quite a bit. We did do a lot of reloads with the gun. I shot that fucking thing behind it. It scared me. And then if you need to do any sort of one-handed manipulation, you have a giant rear sight there in case you need to operate the slide. I do really like that for tactical purposes. Now, the overall weight on the gun is 32 ounces because we do have a steel slide, steel frame, and then an aluminum grip, whereas something like on the Staccato C2, it's going to be about 5 ounces lighter than the Springfield because it does have an aluminum frame. Pros and cons to that, right? A little less recoil with this, a little lighter to carry with this. Personally, I prefer the aluminum frame for 4 or 4.5 inch guns. That being said, steel frame works just fine and has been for a long damn time. The recoil spring in the gun feels really good. It's a 2-piece full-length guide rod. I know 1911 guys are very concerned about whether or not their guide rod is full length. This one is, so don't worry about it too much. That being said, I would probably change this out to a Wilson Combat, maybe something a little bit lighter along the lines of, I don't know, like maybe a 12-pound. I saw a lot of people in the comments of my first shots talking about how they changed theirs out, so feel free to go reference that if you want. The slide is carbon steel with a black Cerakote, which is done pretty well. We put this in and out of a holster quite a few times, and we beat the crap out of this. And as you can see, there is only minimal scrapes and dings on the slide, which held up very well over time, especially considering one time we shot this in the rain, and there is no rust on it whatsoever. I was a little concerned about that. And finally, the MSR of the P on the gun is around $1,500, making it come in a lot less expensive than its main competitor, which I do believe, again, is the Staccato C2, which are kind of going to be referencing back and forth, since this is kind of the guy that made 2011s popular. Well, that and the Staccato P, of course, which is currently being used by Texas Rangers and many other law enforcement. Now, the Staccato P is probably a better example of the Springfield Prodigy just because it's about the same weight, because it has the steel frame, and it has the same grip and same capacity. But the P is just a hair longer at 4.4 inches instead of the 4.25, which honestly, again, I do prefer, but 4.25 is certainly a good middle ground. You're going to get a little bit less overall bougie stuff. You're not going to get hand-fit performance out of the Prodigy like you are the Staccato P, so you're not going to get that beautiful grease shit on ice slide that you're going to get with the Staccato on the Springfield Prodigy. That being said, does that matter? Well, let's get right into it with the reliability portion of the review, and that I wish was a hair better. We had 2 bobbles in the first shots. Oh, I didn't even see that. I was too busy getting eaten. Cool. Well, this is Blazer Brass, and we did lube this with Slip 2000, which is the lube that I like to use, and I think it's a pretty venerable lube. Blazer Brass is pretty damn decent ammo. And then that sort of continued on a trend throughout the entire review.
Should I try it?
Press as hard as you can with the wrist. As much wrist as possible. Still a fail. That's normal 124 grain with enough lube to drown your girlfriend in. You literally cannot keep this gun working. That's it.
Is that bad? Well, it's not great, but it's not really that bad for a 2011 pistol at $1,500 either, in all fairness. And add that to the fact this is one of the first samples that we've had from Springfield, and they're probably going to do non-generational changes throughout the next year to tweak and make these things a little bit more reliable. That doesn't shock me too much. Now, that is not nearly as good as something like the Staccato C2 again, which I have about 3,000 rounds through, and it runs like a freaking top. Part of that is because it is sprung correctly, part of that is because it's hand fit, and part of that is because it's just simply made by a slightly higher quality company. That being said, really good performance aside from the reliability in every other category, so don't tune off just yet. The Springfield Prodigy is a 2011 after all, and what makes a 2011 great is going to be a number of things. Number one, it has really, really good recoil control. The speed on this gun is absolutely outstanding. First, we have a short-slided 32-ounce pistol with a lot of weight on the bottom and very little reciprocating mass, and that equals a very fast shooting platform. Second, we have a very light trigger pull because it's a single-action pistol, as you can see here, coming in about 3 pounds, and then the reset on the gun is absolutely incredible. allowing for extremely fast follow-up shots and very cool footage as well. So I really loved how the gun shot. The gun shot like a classic 2011, and arguably just a little bit better in all fairness. I think this gun actually shoots better than the C2 just because it is a little bit heavier and it controls that recoil a little bit better. Sadly, you're going to have a little bit more malfunctions with the Prodigy, and that's just not my sample. I actually have several other friends that have reviewed and bought this gun as well, and all of them have kind of similar things to say. Now, as far as the reliability, we did shoot Blazer brass for the majority of this video, but we also shot Federal 115 grain as well, and then also some Federal 124 grain. I think it was HST. I can't remember. It was some sort of hollow point, and it didn't really love that. Now, we had the most reliability issues with the stocks Prodigy magazine, and again, that doesn't shock me because I was also using my tuned Atlas Gunworks magazines, which are incredibly expensive, but they work very, very well. And we saw I think we saw maybe one malfunction through the entire course of the review with these. So if you want a Prodigy and you want to make it reliable, feel free to spend $10,000 on Atlas Gunworks mags. No, I'm just kidding. But I think these are somewhere between $100 and $200 a piece. So keep that in mind. 2011 magazines, whether they're Atlas Gunworks or not, are pretty expensive, but for the good ones, you do have to pay for it. Now, we also use plenty of stock staccato magazines through this, which are also very good. The Generation 2 staccato mags are probably the industry standard, and that is what Atlas uses, I believe, and then they tune them up a little bit. Those worked very well as well. The only problem was, I think the majority of malfunctions took place with the magazines that you are going to get out of the box. Yours could be different as well. You have to remember that when you do a gun review, it is a sample size of one. Yours might not have the same malfunctions mine had. You also have to remember that through the testing, we only cleaned this when we had to. So we shot 600 rounds through this with no cleanings whatsoever. Started having a couple problems. We did clean the gun. Tolerances are tight on 2011s, 1911s, so they're not like a Glock where you can always get through a 1,000-round review without cleaning. Once we cleaned it and lubed it up, though, we still did have the odd bobble again. So you have to remember that as far as like WROL, after the world ends type of pistol, is this your gun? Maybe, maybe not. As much as 2011s shoot so well, you have to remember they do require more maintenance than a standard pistol, and that is just how it is. If you're a guy that likes to do a lot of maintenance, this is a really good gun for you, and you're going to be able to get higher performance than you could a Glock or a Smith & Wesson or something like that. That being said, you're going to have to clean it, maintain it, and you're going to have to use proper magazines, and you're probably going to have to find an ammunition that the gun likes as well. Get into the accuracy portion of the gun. What a shocker. It was unbelievably accurate. Even with iron sights, we were able to shoot at 50, 75, and 100 yards with very little issue, simply because the trigger interface is so amazing. The trigger is so phenomenal because it is a 1911 design, and Springfield also makes pretty phenomenal 1911s as well. I had a Springfield operator, which was amazing, and this feels like almost exactly the same trigger and ergonomics as that gun, so it kind of feels like going home. So it feels really, really good, and the gun shoots really well. Low recoil, very fast follow-up shots, very accurate, but I just wish, again, it was a little more reliable. Now, with the ergonomics of the gun, how do they work? Well, they work really well. The front slide serrations are freaking awesome. I like to run a press check maneuver on 2011s personally because I find that reloading them with that method is faster for me. Also, if you have an optic on the back, it clears the optic without having to worry about changing your zero or anything like that. People always talk about you can't bump your zero. You absolutely can. I've done it a dozen times. I know friends that have done it. You keep smacking your optic all the time, and eventually your zero is going to be off a hair. It's just how it is, guys. So I like to run the front, and I like these super thick, deep slide serrations because they are just easy to grab and easy to operate, and they look pretty cool too. The texture on the gun, I would argue, is better than the stock staccato texture. However, as you can see, it's a little unfair comparison because my staccato is done up by Darkside Precision, and I like it so much, so's my other one. That being said, I do love the texture on the gun, and I do have a long time love for the Commander size. I will even explain that further. I actually designed a gun with Atlas Gunworks, and this is the actual gun that I made, and coincidentally, I made a Commander size 2011. So you really have to decide what you want to do. When you get into the 2011 market, you don't have a lot of options. You've got maybe the Hayes Custom Rock Islands, or the Rock Islands at 500 stay away from those. Not the Hayes Custom. When they do them upright, they're great, but they come in at about $1,200. Then you've got Bull Armory and you've got Springfield coming in. I like the Springfield a little bit more because I prefer the ergonomics. That being said, the Bull Armory is good as well. And then you have Staccato, and then you have guns like Nighthawk, and then you get up higher and higher to Atlas Gunworks, and then you go into SVI or Infinity, and on it goes. Then eventually you're selling livers and kidneys and lungs just to pay for magazines and ammo. It is what it is. So at $1,500, is the Springfield Prodigy worth it? Well, I think it is. Even though it had some malfunctions, I believe that was directly due to the magazine, and I kept using the 2 magazines that came with the gun because I wanted to mimic the performance that I would get if I was just a person buying the gun out of the store. For the future, though, I will be shooting this gun myself because I love this gun, and I will be using my Atlas Gunworks and Staccato mags, and I will probably give you a 2,000 round update in a month or two. I love shooting this gun so much. We also did the testing of the Surefire Turbo on there, so I'll have quite a few rounds for this. That being said, is it right for you? Well, it's hard to tell. Are you a 2011 guy? Do you want to get into something cheap and try it out? A couple of reasons to get in this. That being said, if you're serious about it, you want to buy a gun for home defense or duty use, right now, I'd probably have to still recommend the P. If I had these 2 guns sitting in front of me and somebody broke into my house, no question, I'm grabbing this motherfucker. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later. What's up, guys? Hit my nuts just now on the fucking chair.